What's going on, everybody? It's Assistant Chief Bailey. We're going to be kind of going over this script because I know a lot of people were absent for the training and the initial training of the server. So we're going to start with the basics for now, and then we'll kind of move into more advanced stuff later on if I decide to make a video for that. But we're just going to cover like the super basic stuff on how to use the pump panel in this video, how to get water supply from a hydrant only, and then how to pull a line. So the next portion of the video that I'll do, we'll hook it up to a tanker with a relay, but it's been kind of bugging out a little bit, so we kind of got to work with what we got right now. So let's start out in your vehicle options. After you spawn your engine, right, you have the option to keep the vehicle on. I think it actually does it by default on this server. But if for some reason your car's turning off, then just look for the setting that it requires to stay on. But I think they just have it set up that way. So first, you're gonna get out, right? You're gonna hear the engine staying on. Obviously, this is a no-brainer, but you want to make sure you're near a hydrant for hydrant water supply. I'll kind of go over how to find a hydrant on the control panel. As an engineer, or even just doing anything with this script, I find it easier to go into first person, just so you can see everything. So first things first, we'll cover the pump panel, or actually we'll just kind of go over where everything's at. So you have your pump panel that controls all your valves and your pump, right? You have a supply line, which is your intake to get water into your truck, and then you have a hose line and take a foam line. This is your discharge on your driver's side. Obviously, foam line is for car fire, stuff like that. And then you can use your scroll wheel or arrow keys to get to these two options. Moving to the back, you have a relay line, which I will cover in a later training tutorial. And then on this side, it's the same thing as the other side, just minus the pump panel. You have your supply line and your hose and foam line. So now that we understand the basics of that, we'll walk back over to this side and we'll open up the pump panel. Holding Z, right? So the engine is on. So this is a very simple, I wouldn't worry too much. We'll go over like your intake and discharge and all that stuff in an advanced training. This is just getting quick water under fire without being like a full-on engineer. So first things first, before I turn that on, and you can't really hear me that well, we'll go through all the menus. Obviously this is your water. Right now they're all blue, and this is your foam. They're all white. As you start to use any of these, it's going to go down. So the engineer's job is going to be to maintain that, or incident command, depending on how many people you have. They should be checking this stuff to make sure you have sufficient water and foam. Valves, again, this is pretty self-explanatory. They are all red. And if anybody knows how a valve works, there's a line going through the middle of this. That means that it's closed, right? Nothing can go through the valve. As you open them, the valves turn, and they turn green, right? That's opening all your valves. So you have your driver intake, your passenger intake. Those are your supply lines. And then you have your driver discharge and your passenger discharge. Those are your hose lines / foam lines. And then you have your rear relay, which again we'll cover in a later tutorial just because it gets a little bit confusing. So this is your vehicle. Again, you have your water, and your yellow is your foam with your pump. You can lock your doors from the pump panel. You can turn on your traffic advisor from this screen. I don't think it lets you really control the ladder, but you could do a bunch of different things. You can turn on your lights. And all that fun stuff. So we will go back. Oh, so quickly, this is the hydrant map, right? So you have your anything that's labeled as an H is a hydrant, right? So you have your location, which is the red dot. We're right near a hydrant. So if you get on scene and you're just kind of looking for a hydrant in the area that you can relay pump off of, again, covered in a later video, this is very useful. I would also recommend to anybody, when you guys are just sitting at the station, do little scenarios, either driving around or just kind of looking around the map, like in Sandy or whatever, so that you guys know where there's hydrants. And I don't think it renders it in. Oh, there it does. So as you guys can see, there is not a lot of hydrants in Sandy. You maybe have 3 or 4, and they're like all right by each other. So running off a tanker is going to be very, very useful. But again, we'll cover that in a later episode because it gets a little bit too much. So first things first, remember your truck is on. You are going to engage the pump, and you're going to see your intake pressure. You'll hear the RPMs on the engine go up, and then you have your discharge bar. This is all just pressure. Again, don't worry so much about this stuff right now. It's not that important. We're just pulling one line, and that's it. So, if we exit out of this, the way that it works with an intake line, again, it's different on a relay because you have to pull from the relaying truck to the supply line. This is different, right? You don't pull from the hydrant. There's no hose in the hydrant. You have to take the supply line off of the truck. So if you hold G on the supply line, it does a little animation, and now you have a hose in your hand. Walk over to the hydrant. It'll say connect, press G again, or hold G. And now you have your supply line, right? Sometimes it looks a little odd. It should level itself out. So now, if we go back into the pump panel, we will see that our water is full. Obviously, we haven't flowed any water. The first thing you're going to want to do is open up your driver intake. That will get the water flowing in once we start actually flowing the water. Sometimes you have to leave it closed. Sometimes it'll bug. So what I recommend in this case, we will pull a line, we'll spray a little bit of water, and then I'll go ahead and open up the driver intake. This is just to ensure that we're actually like the script registers that we're not full and that we need water. So let's go ahead and back out of this really quickly. We are going to pull a hose line. Another thing to remember with this script, try and do your best or else it will bug, to keep whoever pulls this hose line, look, you can drop it, right? So you can put it on the floor. Whoever pulled this off the truck needs to be the one that mainly plays with this line, right? So putting it down, picking it up, spraying it, they need to be the one that solely does this, or else for some reason there's a syncing issue and it'll bug it out. So let's pick it back up again, holding E. Okay. And that goes for the supply line as well. Oh, rookie mistake. So I'm going to drop the line. So we have our intake, right? We have our hose out. We're going to come back over to the pump panel. Go to our valves, and you have your driver discharge, right? So you need to open up your driver or your passenger discharges so that you have water flowing onto that line, right? So now there should be technically water in this line ready to be discharged out the end of the hose to put out the fire. There we go. So we'll just sit here for a minute or two and we'll get some water going out. Again, I'm trying to reiterate this so that it's very, very important. Whoever pulls or is dealing with that specific hose needs to be the one to return the line or disconnect the line. And I would prefer that only the engineer is doing that, dealing with the relays and intake lines, just due to the fact that they were the ones that probably spawned the truck. And again, sometimes it just kind of bugs it out a little bit. So we need to just keep it neat and organized when on scene. And I don't want everybody trying to do things all at once. Let the engineer do his job. And as a firefighter, you grab your SCBA, again, which we'll cover that in a later video, and you pull your line to the door, and you're just waiting for water, basically. So we'll give it another like 10 seconds here, and we should be down a bar or two. And then I will show you guys exactly what I'm talking about. So put the line down. Again, see how it kind of is not so great in first person, or if you're not in first person. So go back into first person, hold Z on the pump. See, we are down actually half. So this is a kind of a big lesson, right? We're down nearly half of our water supply, and I was only spraying water for maybe 30-40 seconds. That's not a lot of time. So water supply is a very, very big deal. Making sure we have water supply hooked up before we're really spraying water and going interior on a building. Because if you're in a fire with no water, it gets very, very hot very fast. So now let's go over to valves, right? We have our intake. We're going to open up our intake. And then we'll go back to this. Now, you see the water start to slowly go up. Again, sometimes somebody needs to actually have water flowing off the line for this water diagram to update. In this case, it doesn't. So once it gets to the top, we know we're full. So now, if I go back over to the end of this line, and hold E to pick it up. For some reason, this one works better in third person. And we're going to keep spraying water for another 10-20 seconds. And you'll notice, because we have a hooked up water supply, we should not be going down in water on that pump panel, right? Now, right now we are only keeping it simple with one line. That hydrant should be able to support both discharges going at the same time. The master streams on both the ladder and the engine do not use tank water. They're scripted into the game that it's just unlimited water. So only discharges are going to be using water. So there's a maximum of 2 on each truck. Again, from a hydrant, you shouldn't have any issues with water supply. It's mainly just going to be when you're off of a tanker that it might be a little bit challenging with maintaining water supply. So we'll go back in here, and look, we are still full after flowing water. So we will go ahead and close everything off, and we will go and pick up our hose. Again, this is demonstrating how to return the hose line. So we'll walk back over this way, first person, right? And it says return line. Again, keeping it the same person that pulled the line to return the line, right? All right. Now all of our valves are closed. We can go ahead and disconnect our supply. And turn off our pump. And that is the basics of Z-Hose. Again, in the next episode, I will go over how to relay pump from a tanker. Again, sometimes it bugs a little bit, so I got to bear with the script until we get it kind of fixed. But that's the basics of pulling from a hydrant into a tank of your engine. This is the same on the ladder as well. It's just a different apparatus. It has the same exact 2 intakes, 2 discharges, the pump panel, and the rear relay. So that's going to be it for this episode, guys. Just keep an eye out for the next ones. We'll go into some more advanced stuff. And if you guys have any questions, either reach out to me or your chain of command, and then let's get everybody trained on this script. So thank you.